Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gift of Gaming podcast. And on this week's episode, we're asking the question, what's up with Xbox? All right, it's me, your host, Darren Wade, and today I'm joined by the artist who may never again be known as Mr. Xbox Games Pass himself, Luke Maycock. Luke, how are we?
I'm doing good, Darren. Thanks for having me on to have a bit of a stomp down on Microsoft and their latest weirdness. It's been going on for a while.
Their wicked ways.
Their wicked ways.
We have a timeline and everything in place. But before we get into that, I did want to just check in. Or actually, you guys went to see, I wasn't able to make it, Predator Badlands?
Yeah, I went to see that last night. Yeah.
Good?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. We did kind of stand outside the screen afterwards and kind of nitpick on the flaws and the holes, but overall I really enjoyed it.
That's why I like going with the gang. Do you know what I mean? Because you do get
this didn't make sense and this didn't make sense.
Yeah, and you do get it. I say that I like that in all the times we did it, with the exception of Captain America: Brave New World, because man, the guy shit on that movie for me.
Yeah, it was a tough watch.
I mean, reasonably so, But you'd recommend, because I've been on a bit of an Aliens Predator bender for the last couple of months, but you'd recommend Badlands?
Big time. I would. I definitely recommend it. I thought it did have a lot of flaws and plot holes and stuff like that, but I thought all the performances were great. The Predator's performance was amazing. I thought overall it did a thing that I always really appreciate, where it was just thematically very tight. It had a very clear theme from about 20 minutes in, and it just executed on that excellently, and it was really lovely and very action packed and just really fun. Elle Fanning was great in it. She kind of held the whole thing together, and the Predator was even great in it. The whole thing was great. Yeah, I really recommend it. I was into it from early on, and I felt like they kept me in right the way to the end.
Because I rewatched Prey maybe about 2 months ago at this stage.
I've never seen Prey.
Prey, man, watch Prey if you have a chance. Prey's an excellent Predator film. Harken back to the original Predator a little bit, in terms of that, whatever resources you've got to use that to take on the Predator, in a kind of way. That kind of the little bit of tension that we had with that first Predator is kind of back. Yeah. It also reminded me as well that the first Predator movie for the first half of that movie is not a Predator movie. It's just commandos going into fuck some shit up,
blowing up military sites and stuff like that.
And Predator just happens to be like, what's going on here?
He's just curious, and then he becomes a threat halfway through the movie. But up until then, it's nothing to do with him. He's just kind of the apex of the movie. Yeah. But good movie.
I need to give that one a watch again. So what are you? You're not on Xbox Games Pass.
No, not on Xbox Game Pass.
What is it that you're playing at the minute?
I am playing a couple of things. I have. So I was cleaning out the house recently, and I found a charger for an old Game Boy Advance that I have.
Nice.
And I have a fan translation copy of Mother 3, which is the Earthbound game that Lucas is from.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So you're doing a bit of research for your Smash character.
Yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of good things about Mother 3 anyway, and I got a tiny bit into it before. It's very quirky, very original kind of character to the game, and it's the Earthbound games inspired all of the games that I love today, like the Undertales and all that kind of stuff that are around today. So I have that up and going. I'm also playing Natsumon, which is it's a modernized sequel to a game I might have mentioned on the podcast before called Boku no Natsuyasumi, which is it's a really sweet PS1 Japanese game, and it's basically just about how to you spend a summer vacation as a kid in your aunt and uncle's house in the country in Japan, and you go through the game you kind of just spend your summer, you pick things to do, and
it sounds right up my street. Yeah.
And so you can replay it, and you pick different routes through it or find different endings. There's 5 different endings to the game, and it's gorgeous. It's very unique, very very kind of the vibes very much of PS1, 90s PS1, and it's gorgeous. The soundscape was done by Polyphony Digital, which is the studio that make the Gran Turismo games, who are famous for their sound sampling. They sampled the engine noises off every individual car to properly emulate it. Similarly, they went through a specific area in Japan in the countryside and sound sampled the soundscape of all the particular bugs for the region, because bug catching is a big part of the game as well.
Nice, yeah.
At different times of every day as it goes on.
It's one of those things that I loved about the more kind of, what would you say, at home Studio Ghibli films as well. Very,
yeah.
Totoro was, of course, like that. The Boy and the Heron has that kind of vibe as well, where kind of, you're staying close to home, and it's just that catching the vibes of what rural Japan would have been like back in the
100%.
Yeah.
So Natsumon is a modern sequel to that, which basically employs like Breath of the Wild style controls. So you're a little kid running around a town and the surrounding areas, catching bugs, pulling pranks, finding spirits, and just really wholesome. You're just doing like your mom, like you get a fishing rod at one point, and your mom's like, "Oh, you have a fishing rod. If you want to catch if you catch a fish, I'll prepare that for dinner if you bring it to me on time." So you can do that. You fill in your journal every day, and
nice.
From the eyes of a kid, like describing all the cool things you did that day, and you can, it's really wholesome, really lovely. I enjoy that a lot. So those are the two for me: Mother 3 and Natsumon.
Because you mentioned your kind of your cozy at home game, I have fallen back into Animal Crossing in a big way. Yeah,
there was the
big update, and the big update isn't released until January even, but I was like, I kind of be into that, but I wanted to, like, because I know I had a terrible habit of constantly deleting my island and restarting it. Back when I was playing through, like, I didn't have, I had
the COVID days, like
I probably had about maybe 4 different islands at the time, which was a terrible way to go about it. I think that the frustration was that you can get some dud islanders, like the people that you hate on the island,
right?
They're very difficult to get rid of. And then I learned kind of how you could, what would you say, quality control.
You could pull the strings.
Of who arrives at the island. But that took a lot of work. Like, you had to get all these, like, you had to get these tickets, pull all weeds and earn loads of these points to buy tickets to go around to other islands to try and focus who you're bringing to the island. And I think that's probably at the end what made me get sick of the game, that I was like really trying to find the perfect group of people. Whereas I went on there recently back to my own island, which only had about 3 visitors on at the time, and I picked up all the weeds, got the cockroaches out of my house. It's a thing that happens genuinely.
As time passes, like stuff grows, doesn't
it? So I got rid of all that kind of stuff and then just started again, and it's very chill, man, because I had we're late with this episode. This episode's coming out on tonight on the Saturday. Should have been out on the Thursday, but I had a root canal and still like emergency root canal needed this week. So I was just looking for something to chill back to, and Animal Crossing, man, that little French horn motif when anytime that game comes on, it just settles my soul so well. So I've been playing that, but on the other side of that's a very relaxing thing to be spending my time doing. The other not so relaxing thing I'm spending my time doing is playing Ark Raiders with Niall and Chris and Andrew. I think Kev might have gotten it there recently. I haven't had a game with him yet, but Ark Raiders is a great game.
Yeah,
a great game.
Like it, really?
Yeah. And the more I play it, and the more it's just the fun that I'm having with it.
Yeah.
It's like, don't get me wrong, I don't think there is. It's a looter shoot. It's a shooter extraction.
Yeah.
Shooter extractor, whatever, and it's all about going up to the top world and looting all the stuff you need to upgrade all your shit back underground.
Yeah.
And then while you're doing that, there's very horrible robots that are difficult to.
The Arks, right?
Yeah, they're very difficult to beat. As your weaponry is shit, like it's like kind of homemade guns and shit like that. You're trying to defeat them, but at the same time, there's other raiders on the land who are running parties as well, and there's proximity chat. And Luke, the last time I would have gotten involved in kind of talking to strangers on the internet would probably have been Final Fantasy 14 to a degree, but that was very much a different. You're all locked in trying to defeat a boss or defeat a dungeon type thing, or sending each other nice. Yeah, exactly. So that was in its own way. And then prior to that would have been the Halo experiences with you and Kev back when Halo 2 was out online, in terms of talking to strangers, headset on. Because generally speaking, I love kind of, let's say, online multiplayer games, but with the Call of Duties and stuff like that, it was only party chat. I wouldn't be talking to strangers. It'd be me talking to my mates. I only ever went and hopped on, and like I never filled my squad unless it was you guys. So with this, it's a lot of fun. You got this proximity chat, and you can choose to kill these other raiders or just run by them, or like chill and help them with their tasks. I've just come across some funny shit on it, man. It's just been like lots of fun, lots of laughs, and it's incredibly tense because you only get about 25 minutes on the top world before it all goes to shit, and you're like guaranteed to die. And as the longer you stay up, the more return points back underground disappear or time out. So the closer you're getting to your timeout, the less extractions there, which means that there's more people at these extractions, which causes like real, you friend or foe, and people are like bringing robots to the extraction while they're trying to escape. So this becomes this really intense thing. I've loved it. I have had so much, like I surprised him, and Chris was talking about it, and then I was like, it's 40 quid. What if I don't like it? 40 quid, so well spent, man. Great. So well spent. Really enjoyed it, and I think it deserves to be. I don't know where. I need to see the nominations, but and I don't know if it's probably been released too late to be in the Game of the Year question. Not that I'd have it as Game of the Year, but there's parts of that I'm like, man, some of this needs to be recognized or talked about because it is so much fun. A lot of people have said it's the kind of the layman's Tarkov, yeah. Like, it's just a bit easier. I never played Tarkov, so I don't know, but that's what a lot of people are describing it as. It's kind of like an entry point for, shooter extractors for those kind of people. Great game, man.
I think Tarkov is very sweaty. John was talking about it to me today, and he was like, oh yeah, there's like certain kind of bullets you can buy that are just, you will lose if you buy those kind of bullets. Like, it's very granular. But no, Arcade sounds insane. It sounds really good. Have you, when you play it, are you very like, do you go in with the intent to be nice to everyone, or what's your?
I have done, but there are times. So there was one. I was playing a game with Andrew there last night, I think, or the night before, and we were playing and. You get this thing where like you're running past someone, and sometimes they don't have proximity chat. Sometimes people aren't like, "Hey, you friendly?" You don't get any of that. You just get like some of the emotes or the sounds that you can automatically. So you just hear the people going, "Don't shoot," type thing.
Yeah.
We were in this kind of like valley, and we had just helped these guys take down 2 kind of machines in the sky. And Andrew was like, "We killing these guys? Should we kill these guys?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Should we kill these guys?" But we decided, yeah, feck it, we go. And they put up a good fight. We almost lost. And the worst part about it was our fighting had given attention to some of the nearby robots. So me and Andrew barely got out by the skin of our teeth. Right. But the great thing about if you choose to kind of fight other raiders is the loot can be...
Oh, it's way better.
I mean, they're just kind of doing the work for you, essentially.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
So you can come across the only and it's not a frustrating thing about the game. I think I was listening to a content creator talk about how none of the loot in the game is yours. It's just not yours because you're going to die and someone's going to rob you and they're going to have it for a while. That's going to be great for them, but they're going to be killed and it's going to be someone else's because you can choose to go into a map with a free loadout, which just gives you a random selection of like mediocre shit. So if you die, you don't really lose anything.
Yeah.
But man, the first time I modded all my guns, leveled them all up, went in like locked and loaded and got absolutely wrecked and lost all my stuff. And I was kind of really annoyed at first. I was like, I can't believe I lost all this stuff. But then the guy explained it was like, it was never your loot to begin with. And with that kind of mantra, I'm a little bit more like,
Swings and roundabouts, baby.
Exactly. It'll come back to me at some point, I hope. But yeah, really enjoying it. In fact, like, Good. Surprisingly so. When Chris was describing proximity chat, I was like, I don't really do that when I play games. But like, me and now we're playing a game and we really annoyed these people because now I kept running by them, running up to them and putting on the chat and just going, brothers, brother, like Liquid Snake-esque or like, Space Marines or not, it is Space Marines, just kind of like play acting like that, and it is fun, like lots of the videos, people are very funny on it. But no, great game, really fun, love the loop. I think I'm probably going to hop on for a few games tonight after the Ireland match and stuff, and give another run. But Luke, we're not here to talk about Arc Raiders.
No, we aren't.
We're here to ask the question: what the hell is going on with Xbox right now?
What's going on over in America in those Microsoft towers?
So I thought I'd give you a little bit of just a quick timeline. Just to kind of refresh our memory as to the situation we're in. October 13th, 2023, Activision Microsoft merger is completed at the cost of, I think, $69 billion. I think
it was like, it might have been 70, but yeah, sure. Yeah, around that.
Yeah, approximately $70 billion they did that. So that's in October 13th, 2023. January 2024, Microsoft announces 1,900 job cuts across its gaming division, 8% of the workforce. Yeah. September 2024, Microsoft announces an additional 650 job losses in the Microsoft gaming division. Yeah. And then a report I was kind of reading up on today coming from GameFile is that Activision job losses are around, this is just Activision now, around 9,000 to date, with under half of those at Xbox Gaming Division, which means that in or around 6,000 jobs in total have been lost in Xbox Gaming Division since the merger. Since the merger, we've also known that Xbox has kind of given up on exclusives.
Yep.
They're gone. The likes of Forza Horizon 5, Starfield, Gears of War, Flight Simulator, Elder Scrolls, and up until very recently then as well, Halo, have all gone non-exclusive and are all released on or will be released on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So there's I don't know where you want. Exclusives is probably a place worth starting because we know.
Sure.
I mean, we've talked about the generations growing up, I had a PlayStation 1 and then I went to PlayStation 2. At the time of PlayStation 2, I think you and Kevin had gotten into the Xbox infrastructure at that stage.
Yeah, Xbox Live and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and Xbox was very, very cool. And I was like kind of jealous, but PlayStation 2 was like pretty dope. Just not the online kind of stuff that was going on with Xbox, but like I had a lot of fun with my PlayStation 2 games. PlayStation 3 comes along and you get the Xbox 360. And if you're talking about generation wins, and like I'm not a believer in the console wars, but I would say PlayStation 2 was probably definitely was more successful than Xbox. It's the highest selling console of all time ever.
Yeah.
But then you get into PlayStation 3, which was a big failure by Sony standards, and Xbox 360 all of a sudden is the kind of the leading guy.
I think maybe a marketing flub on Sony's part where they just price it at £600, which is, even by today's standards, is a lot for a console.
Yeah, I mean, inflation-wise, I wonder what that's at today.
Oh my gosh.
How much are you paying for PlayStation 3?
Bold move. But yeah, that did open Xbox had already made a lot of ground with their first release. They'd had a lot of wins in their original generation, and then PS3's flub kind of allowed them to step up. Also, Nintendo had a really tough generate. That was the GameCube time as well. Which
I always find it such a pity that the GameCube performed so poorly, because I was a big fan of the GameCube era of Nintendo.
I suppose the Wii, the
Wii U was the Wii U was quite successful, but the Wii was successful. The Wii U was a dreadful.
I think they kind of lagged behind that I think the Wii came out a bit after the 360 and the PS3, but I could be wrong. It was like around PS4 or before PS4. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're not talking about Nintendo.
They do their own thing. Yeah. Always have, always will.
Yeah, Xbox 360 was a very successful generation. Like, again, it capitalized on the successes of Xbox Live. Xbox Live was a huge part of the 360 generation. Gears of War was 360. Halo 3 was 360. COD 4 came out in at the time, like the big... COD's big, like Call of Duty had already been a successful franchise. Like Call of Duty 3 was like really successful game, but COD 4 just brought it to a god tier kind of FPS.
Yeah. I mean, like as you said at the time, we were talking about like Gears of War 2, I suppose, was 360, or was the first one on 360? The first one
was 360, yeah.
So I mean, you're talking about Gears of War, the Halo games, Halo 2 games, so good at that stage. And like PlayStation was really struggling, I think, in terms of exclusives, or like the games that were kind of PlayStation only, was like Prototype. And then, Prototype, and then
I think Prototype was on 360.
Was it?
Well. Infamous was only on PlayStation.
Infamous, two kind of similar. So Infamous, and then of course the Metal Gear Solid games at the time, Konami, were still PlayStation. But yeah, they were really struggling in that sense. Then you get the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
The
Xbone. And I guess... not to say that one was a really kind of true winner, but I think the PlayStation 4 probably maybe did like slightly better at the time, where people kind of returning back to.
PlayStation 4 definitely shipped more units than the Xbox One. Xbox One, I loved a lot of the functionality on the Xbox One, and I miss it. There was the reason it was called the One was it was like the one system that you encompassed all your entertainment systems into.
And this is where we begin to see.
They're trying stuff like
this is where Xbox are beginning to set up they've put in the foundations of their card castle. They're setting up the cards and like, we have a plan here. And that's when the first when you talked about like, this is where everything's meant to be. It was, again, I was very jealous of Xbox owners during the PlayStation 3 era, and when it came to a PlayStation 4, that was a real close one for me, because it was a case of, do I now go into Xbox infrastructure, or do I stick with PlayStation? Stuck with PlayStation in the end. But there were times I was looking over at Xbox being like, oh, I like what they're doing. That media home thing. This is where everything you'll need.
You could like split up your screen. I think it was called Snap. You could split up your screen at any point, like, because OSs at the time were like very competent with running multiple things, processes, apps, and stuff at once. I know that's going to sound like a very redundant thing to say now, but like back in the 2012, 2013, 2014, is that when we're talking? It was basically phones and other devices were starting to get that functionality. Like that had always been, that's what an OS does for desktop PCs. But now phones and consoles and stuff are being able to run multiple apps at once. And your Xbox would now run your game, and then in a window to the side in the corner, you could have your YouTube video, and then another screen to the bottom right, you can have something else open. Yeah. And that's all running off your Xbox. And then at any stage, you could flick across to your TV display, because the way it was wired up, you had your TV's HDMI going into the Xbox and then coming back out of the Xbox, so the TV was controllable with your Xbox. It was a really cool idea, and it just didn't have market appeal. I loved it, but they did have a bunch of PS4 and Xbox both had a bunch of marketing flops then as well, because this was the first time they were like, rumors came out that you had to constantly be online. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
It was a big talking point back then where like PS4 and Xbox were both like, you have to be online all the time for DRM purposes to make sure you've legit copies of games and all this kind of stuff. Your Xbox has to be online all the time. And they got massive backlash for it and got hammered. And Xbox kind of caved a bit and they pulled away from their bold vision of like an all-in-one system is your Xbox kind of started to crumble, and they stepped away from it in a big way going into the next generation, which was the Series X and S.
Which is where we find ourselves today.
Yeah,
but I suppose we should, kind of just giving the background, the first thing I want to touch upon, which would have kind of happened or really kind of picked up grounds, because I don't think it was any earlier than this, but Xbox One was the introduction of Games Pass, right? It wasn't, Games Pass didn't exist prior to that.
No. Xbox One was the first time, yeah.
So we had what was essentially then, unarguably, I think, the best deal in video gaming.
You used to be able to get Game Pass, and this was a little hack that you had to do.
It was $9.99, wasn't it?
You used to be able to get it for €2 a month.
How did you get the hack? What was the hack?
So I got this from a guy who was working at Rare which was an Xbox studio at the time, but he was telling me that like you can get like the hack was like you can basically try out a Game Pass and they let you have it for like €2 for like, I think it was a couple of months, €2 a month. One of the, like Disney Plus is doing an offer right now. It's like €2 a month for a couple of months. But there was a way that if you signed up with that subscription and then you chose a specific option online to sign up for your Game Pass in perpetuity, you basically got to keep your current price, whatever that was. So there was a way at a time to get Xbox Game Pass for €2 a month, and it was a massive catalog back then. Even like they were really pushing for a big catalog of games. But even at like $9.99, which it was until like, it feels like not that long ago. It was still $9.99. It was even like €12 until not that long ago. The huge catalog of games, definitely the best deal in gaming, bar none.
I remember I got real worried with the PlayStation, the early days of the PlayStation 5. It would have been during an Xbox showcase, I think sometime during COVID. And they had, Sony, I think the State of Plays were kind of getting a bit of traction, but Sony had the Sony Xbox, or not, the Microsoft had their Xbox showcase. And it was incorporating Games Pass in a big way. And at this point, maybe it's gone up to $12.99. I'm not quite sure, but it would do that thing. I don't know if you remember the voice from the Xbox showcase would go world premiere, but they would show this thing and it would always say at the end of whatever trailer it was day one
Xbox Game Pass.
And I was looking at this being like, fuck, that is a great, like, I mean, I'm paying £15 for all of these games. Have I made a mistake? And for a long time, like, it's why you got your name. You were the guy who was playing, Xbox Games Pass. He said to us so many times on the podcast back then when it was true that, like, you're not going to get a better deal.
For years and years before that, it was just like, it's such a no-brainer. Like, it's such a good deal.
And I guess for them, their whole idea would be that, you're playing all these from the cloud, and that's the future. It's where we kind of hear these things of like, this is an Xbox is what we hear about next. That your phone is an Xbox, your TV is going to become an Xbox, your laptop's an Xbox. Any of these things is going to be an Xbox. And I was looking at it being like, damn, they know what they're up to.
They have a vision.
And then we get to the Xbox Games Pass price increase, kind of out of the blue.
Well, are we talking about the recent one?
The damaging one, I suppose.
I'd say there was one more big shift before that, which was that, I don't know if you know this yourself, they changed the model of Game Pass. This was about the better part of a year ago. So it was a big price increase. But the way it worked was there was 3 tiers of Xbox Game Pass. So similar, like PlayStation has multiple tiers. I think Nintendo Switch has multiple tiers, their online thing. They were like, okay, we're going to do a tier model. And this is off the back of what you were saying, how exciting it was to see, day one Game Pass.
Yeah.
Day one Game Pass is its own tier. Like, that's called Game Pass Ultimate. So Game Pass Ultimate used to be, you get Game Pass for console and you get Game Pass for PC. So if you turn on your PC, you log into your Xbox account, you've loads of games there. Great. Game Pass Ultimate now is the only version of Game Pass where you get the day one, you get the Xbox like first party titles day one. And that's $18.99 or something like that is what they went for. Mm-hmm. So the only way to play you know, so any of their big titles, like any of the new ones that like come out day one, you have to be paying $18.99. If you're paying, I can't remember, I think it's standard, Game Pass standard, you get a massive library of games, but you don't get any of the day one titles. You have to wait a full year to be able to play those titles.
Fuck, it's a year.
It's a year. They window them off from you, even though you're in the ecosystem and you're paying $14.99 a month, which was the previous price of
day one,
what they used to call Ultimate.
Yeah.
So you used to, so for the exact same price, you've no access to day one releases. So Starfields and all that were like cancelled out.
And locked away for a year.
A full year. Yep. And this is, you're a paying Xbox customer, and the main appeal of having Xbox Game Pass.
I've got a lot of gripes with Xbox. I never knew this. I never knew that they actually, because I could understand you don't get it day one, but maybe a month down the line.
A year. They kept it away for a year, and you had to pay like an extra €4 a month to be able to access those day one titles. And then there was Game Pass. The final tier is like Game Pass Core, I think they call it, where it's like 8 titles you get, and it's like, I think it's like €5 or €6 a month, but you need that to be able to play online at least.
And you're only getting that many.
You get like Minecraft, and you get like 5 other games. Yeah.
Shit. Okay.
So there's a teeny weeny tier as well.
So this would have been the first, I suppose, sign of the decline in what Xbox Game Pass is the best deal in gaming.
Yeah,
like, is it the best deal in gaming? You know, that's the question you ask. Like, is it anymore?
Yeah. This was definitely the first sign of like they're making a very big shift, because it was very like, as a consumer, it was a no-brainer up until this point. Even though you had all those stories coming out about them shutting down like the studio that did Hi-Fi Rush and stuff like that, like, and Redguard was a disaster. Things were going bad, but none of that was reflected onto the consumer yet. It was still like really good value for a consumer, but this was a change in philosophy where it was like, wait a second, this
isn't what I signed up for. Essentially,
this is not what it was. Yeah. So they screwed over the developers, and now they're starting to like really price out a lot of consumers. And then you have that brings us to the most recent price increase, where they've basically doubled the highest tier one. So again, if you want to play things day one, you have to be paying about €30 a month. You could probably pay, I think the next tier down would probably be around 20 quid or 22 quid or something. Mm-hmm. If you get the 20 quid or 22 quid, you still have to wait a year to play day one titles. So like all their, for like the Avowed or Outer Worlds 2 that just came out, if you don't have the top tier, you have to wait a year. And now with like Xbox doing away with exclusives, is there a chance that if you were a PlayStation player, you could get them like as soon as you get them as a Xbox tier 2 Game Pass?
Absolutely, like, do that kind of way.
Yeah,
so it's insane. And I suppose the difference, and like I suppose did the core double in price? Did their prices sing in general?
I actually don't know. I didn't look into,
because the thing I find mad is that with PlayStation you don't get a say in it. But the one thing, and it's almost like I can understand people's complaints, and don't get me wrong, there's been months where it's been bad, but you get like 3 to 4 free games a month with your PlayStation standard.
But you get to keep the licenses for those, don't you?
You just add them to your library and they're there forever. So what's a real sneaky thing is my brother has my PlayStation as his primary, and I have his PlayStation as my primary. So we share games.
The home things,
but he's able to, even without his PlayStation subscription, he's able to download all of the monthly games that I. Yep. So I'm sure that's probably a window they'll figure out to close at some point.
No, they keep that open for like Xbox has the same system set up.
Yeah, you can do a primary, and
my dad has Game Pass Ultimate at the moment. So if I paired, he bought a Series X like a year ago.
Nice.
He loves it. If I set his console up as if I put my profile as the main profile and his console, I'd get access to Game Pass again. Basically.
Nice. So, okay. Yeah. It
does work on the same.
But you get like these monthly games, and don't get me wrong, they've had bad months where I'm looking up being like, this quality of this stuff is shit, but they've had great months as well. But they're all just free games. And like, I remember one month was I think it was Assassin's Creed Valhalla or something like that. A game I'd been considering playing, but like that this is going to be a very nothing like Games Pass in terms of your day one type things, but Valhalla was a game I'd always thought about, and all of a sudden just lands on my plate being like, oh okay, here's one for free, like there you go, there's one here. And that happened enough for me to be like, this is a great fucking deal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Every now and again, and I'd be busy playing games. It's not as I'm sitting there being like, but the monthly thing would come along. I'm like, oh fuck, this is a great. I'll absolutely fucking play this game for sure. Yeah. And you could get that on the cheapest version of PlayStation, but the cheapest version of PlayStation, maybe it's the middle tier, but you're given access to the PlayStation catalog of games. I don't know, there are hundreds in there. Do you know what I mean? To choose from that are all free to download and play. Like I would have downloaded Persona 5 Royal Edition from that one along.
Yeah, cool.
amongst others. So it's definitely on the Xbox side of things, and this is meant to be their craft. Like this is this storefront, this infrastructure, and it's meant to be good value. That's already completely going down the drain. But this price increase, you and me, we talked about with Chris so many times on the news episodes about, was this buying Activision a good idea? Yeah. And I think I was a little bit perturbed by it because I was like, I don't want Xbox to go. And like, here's me saying that, but like Sony owns Gorilla and Sony owns Insomniac and Sony pretty much owns Naughty Dog. Do you know what I mean? So it's a case of, but do I want Xbox going in to buy the big hitters, the ones that are, you know, are they going to go in and buy EA for FIFA? They're going in to buy the Call of Duties. Is that a competitive advantage that I don't think is fair? But all that aside, the decision in the end, because I guess the deal, and I wondered if they ever want to pull out of buying it in the end, because the deal was that they couldn't go exclusive with Call of Duty for 10 years.
Yeah, that was the one that they had to make to get Sony to back off, basically.
So when does this become, you know, it's not going to become profitable for them? You know, like Sony PlayStation players and PC players, all that kind of stuff are still going to be able to play this big, gigantic video game every year for the next 10 years. So where are you making your money from? And then we begin to see the job loss, like the timeline that I brought out, you know, at the start of the episode. Like we see all these job losses. It's like, oh, okay, they've got money that they need to make up fast. $70 billion is a big fucking chunk of cash. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Microsoft is a $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
But it's got this little thing beside it. It's like, hey, I'm going to need you to be profitable at some stage because we're kind of just, you know, it almost felt like with Game, because I always thought Game Pass was an amazing deal, but it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
it was so good, like too good to be true, almost. In that, like, how are they making money?
It was kind of like a, you know, the idea of a loss leader.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a loss leader for them. Like they were losing money on it, but it was getting people in the door.
Yeah, and I think it seems like Microsoft has now put their foot down and said, we're not going to accept this anymore because you now have Xbox Games Pass price increase, and then we go to, you know, these other, you know, articles we'll talk about now that we hit on, but then you have they're making the Xbox, the Asus Xbox Ally, whatever, the ROG Ally, whatever it is, and that comes out at $1,000 for the premium one. Yeah. And they go and they shift the blame onto Asus for that, you know. And they're talking about like the Xbox dev kits for the things. They double more, like you know, 33% more expensive to get a dev kit now all of a sudden. And then they start talking about the next gen Xbox and how that's going to be a premium product. And I'm kind of like, you haven't even said that the Asus Ally, Xbox, ROG S, whatever it is, you haven't even described that as a premium product. That's $1,000. Like, what does what is your console coming out as? And then, which I think it's probably worth even maybe going into the article on, but then we hear about the Microsoft pushing Xbox division to hit higher profit margins, which is where I think like, okay, Xbox is no longer being allowed to kind of play around anymore. It's like the dads come home and said, right, you need to get to work because this isn't working for us anymore. Yeah. Is there anyone you want to go? I've got a couple of articles here. I've got one on the Asus Xbox Ally. I've got one on the dev kits. I've got one on the next gen Xbox price, and I've got the one on the Xbox division pushing for higher profits. Is there anything you want me to kind of go into with a bit more facts we can touch on?
Yeah, I'd like to go into the console stuff. So the ROG Ally things. I was having this conversation. So like the ROG Ally, the lower tier version of the ROG Ally, I think costs around £700 or £800.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation before I came up here with Niall and John that that basically it could be the case. Like if we're assuming that the next gen like super premium console costs like between $1,000 and $1,200. Right? It was like a modular, big, chunky PC type thing, which is what they said they're going to do. If that costs that much, the higher tier ROG Ally is $1,000. The lower tier ROG Ally is like $700-800. The cheapest Xbox you may be able to get in the next generation might be a handheld device that costs £700. Yeah, that's nuts. That's
not crazy. A handheld, like you don't even get a.
Yeah, and. Yeah. So I'd love to hear more about the ROG Ally. And like
well, let's go into this. Is coming from Tech Radar, right? This is by Isaiah Williams. This is from end of 21st of October. Microsoft is attempting to distance itself from the ROG Ally or the ROG Xbox Ally pricing fiasco, and supply leaks highlight that. It's not been long since the launch of the ROG Xbox Ally handhelds, and it appears as though the controversial pricing of the higher-end ROG Xbox Ally X may have had more to do with its manufacturer than Microsoft and Xbox amid some supply concerns. As reported by Notebook Check, Xbox President Sarah Bond revealed that Microsoft relied on Asus to, quote, determine the ultimate price of the devices. This comes at the same time as supply leaks from Moore's Law is Dead, which suggests that ROG Xbox Ally X stock is scarce and may not have steady resupplies. The ROG Xbox LAX, the more powerful variant using AMD's Ryzen Z2 Extreme, starts at $999, which has been the point of contention for many consumers, especially when considering the lack of performance leap it makes from the Asus ROG Ally or Asus ROG Ally X using the Ryzen Z1 Extreme. It's also worth noting that MLID's source, which is a major unnamed US retailer, hinted at more stock available for the ROG Xbox Ally using the weaker Ryzen Z2A processor, but consumers aren't opting for this model, likely due to its $600 price. The supply situation with the ROG Xbox Ally X is also compared to that of NVIDIA's RTX 5080 launch, which was hardly available at launch. These supply leaks may go a long way to indicate a few things, but notable one could be that Microsoft and Xbox may have not been completely confident in the launch of the ROG Xbox Ally devices in terms of sales, specifically the ROG Xbox Ally X due to its high $1,000 price point, potentially made evident by a supposed lack of supply at launch and rumors pointing towards little to no urgency for resupply. While Xbox LAX may be sold out, it doesn't necessarily indicate huge success in terms of sales, specifically if these limited supply leaks are legitimate. Sarah Bond's comments on pricing almost sound like it's something Asus saw fit to shift the heat off of the controversy away from Microsoft, but the Xbox president also didn't shy away from backing up Asus's price tag, stating, quote, the reaction was overwhelming demand for the device and feeling really good about the value for gamers for the price. And frankly, that may not resonate with many consumers. So one of the, this is a minor thing. I have such a problem with how Xbox calls its devices.
Yeah,
I have such a problem with it.
It's been a nightmare since the Series X and Series S.
Yeah.
And now it's the ROG Ally X and the ROG Ally S. Yeah. Yeah.
But we're talking about, so they produced this thing, came out of $1,000. People were pissed.
Yeah.
Sarah Bond comes in and says, well, that was ASOS's idea, not ours. It was their job to price it, whatever else.
Costs.
Yeah. And you can't really get your hands on it. They don't really have that much of supply on it, which, some people could say could be a confidence thing. Like, is this going to sell?
Yeah,
Are they kind of making
sure.
a premium thing?
Because the chip shortage is long over. Like, it's not a resources thing.
No. And we know that by the Switch 2. The Switch 2, there's no problem to buy a Switch 2. Like, whereas we had so many problems with the PS5, all that kind of stuff. So my problem with this is we're talking about a handheld device. I've seen it. I haven't held it. You go online, you can see pictures of it. Not a big fan of how it looks.
Nah, it looks
From
it looks pretty ugly, yeah.
Yeah, and people have said that because I think you can adjust between your Microsoft kind of store Gamefront with Xbox, and it also is able to go into, is it Steam and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, you can launch, you can like side launch Steam in a kind of way. I don't know if you need to run a Windows OS to do that. I don't think you need to run a Windows OS. I think so the ROG Ally X and the ROG Ally S run their own proprietary Xbox OS, which is new. This is a big deal that it's new, because Steam OS is the thing that is one of the many factors that makes the Steam Deck like a really powerful and efficient system. So Xbox has come up with their own version of that, from which I think you can sideload Steam somehow. I'm not really sure how it works, but you can run the app. So yeah, you've your Xbox OS, and then you have access to your Steam library and can run games through that as if it's a PC, basically. And
it's $1,000, for the high end one, it's $1,000 to play. You get Steam, of course, but you get your Microsoft storefront and everything like that. Yeah. And I'm this is me being biased, because I'm a PlayStation guy. I'm in the PlayStation infrastructure. I buy PlayStation things. The PlayStation Portal is $200.
Jeez, wow.
Now, granted, it's purely a remote player. Do you know what I mean? It's not got any sort of built-in storage or anything like that. But one of the new updates they brought out to Portal, and it's one of those things that they're consistently updating, but one of the most recent updates is that if you have the PlayStation Premium, which I think is about €120 a year, I think the premium thing.
That's not bad.
No, but this is access to everything. Now, might be more, but I think it's about 120. It could be more. But basically, if you have that and a PlayStation Portal, you can play the entire catalogue of cloud streaming games, and there's hundreds of them now, I think, at this stage, cool. Including The Last of Us Part 2 and all the big Spider-Man games, all that kind of stuff on the handheld. So you don't even need to buy, let's say, a PlayStation 5 or all that kind of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, it's no OLED screen or anything like that. But when I think of like, hey, I want to go play, again, I'm not a Steam player, I'm not a Valve player, I'm not in the PC infrastructure. But that to me is a deal, is like, I'll just do that. Well, I'll stream my game. Good internet, of course, is a must. But I'm assuming it's the same for the ROG Ally. I'm assuming it has some storage, but I think for the most part, you're probably still on the cloud with that kind of.
No, I think
it's all storage.
It's all internal. Like that's the reason. That's the reason of the high price point, is because it is quite nifty hardware. Like it's
it's not just a remote player.
Yeah. It can do that as well. Like obviously, Xbox have been flaunting around their cloud Project xCloud or whatever it was, their cloud streaming services, and it's really good. But it's interesting how it's kind of, for me, it feels like it's kind of flipped, where like that sounds like the best deal in gaming now. Like if you can buy a 200 quid handheld and you can pay a tenner a month, that's what Game Pass was, and you have access to all these like games.
The Portal is great in that it's a full DualSense controller, haptic feedback, all the kind of stuff in the like, it is quite cool. I find the vibration is too loud on it almost, so I tend to turn it quite low. But yeah, it's like when I realized, and that was only a recent update. Before that, it was kind of fairly. They had a cloud beta thing for ages that you could go on and play them regardless of the tier membership you had. But when they released that, I was like, fuck, that's actually quite impressive. The Portal has become, even since its inception, since it's come out, it's become more and more of a powerful, or like a value for money kind of device. But touching on this, we were talking about the storefronts there with Steam and everything like that. We've understood that Xbox's kind of direction has been, hey, we're going to be, at least now it seems, the hybrid. We're going to be the PC console hybrid.
Since the ROG Ally was announced, they kind of put their foot down. It's like, okay, no more messing around. We're also the PC guys. Like, we're Microsoft. So you're going to be able to use your console like a PC, and you're going to be able to access Steam, which means you're going to be able to get Sony titles that are 7 years old or whatever. Which
brings me on to my next question. Actually, before I get on to that, I'm just going to do our little promo bit. So before we move on, I just want to let you know about our Patreon. Over at patreon.com/thegiftofgaming. For less than a coffee a month, you can hop onto our Patreon, where we currently have over 100 post shows for you to enjoy, from video gaming battle royales to thoughts and opinion pieces on the here and now of gaming, and even extra news episodes every month. There's so much for you to enjoy, all while helping keep the lights and mics on here at the Gift of Gaming podcast. And on today's post show, myself and Luke will be asking the question, what would we do if we were in charge of Xbox? Check out patreon.com/thegiftofgaming for our growing library of video game content. And if you prefer to listen to your podcast via YouTube video, then boy, you're in luck. All of our podcast episodes are now on YouTube over at youtube.com/@thegiftofgaming. Leave a like, subscribe if you're feeling bold, and tell us what you think by dropping us a comment. But be nice about it, obviously. Be nice. But we're talking about Xbox being a hybrid. That's where we're going.
Yeah.
How fucked do you think they are now that Valve announced, hey, look what we have put together?
I was really hoping we talk about the new Valve announcement. So for anyone not up to date, Valve have just announced 3 big hardware projects that are coming soon, coming next year anyway. The first one is the Valve controller, which looks incredible. It has the trackpads from the Steam Deck, has a little wireless dongle that also charges it. It looks pretty funky. They're also releasing a VR system which has SteamOS built into it and comes with a Wi-Fi dongle. So it's a wireless VR setting that you can stream directly to whatever PC has the capabilities to run VR using a wireless dongle. I don't know why I haven't heard about that before. It's really clever. And then finally, what we're referencing now is the Steam Machine, or the Gabe Cube.
The Gabe Cube. I love the Gabe Cube reference.
The Gabe Cube, which is going to be, it's basically a PC built specifically for running games on SteamOS that they're claiming is going to be 6 times more powerful than a Steam Deck. Crazy numbers. Steam Deck is a very powerful little machine. 6 times more powerful is insane. And also Valve basically said, we don't want to control what way you use your device, so of course you can flash whatever OS you want onto it. You can
connect whatever controller you want to it.
Connect any controller, like run it, use it as a PC as well. We don't care. So now Valve have put their foot down and be like, no, we can do this too.
And they've done it in such a, like, I watched that video, and the video of their launch, and it doesn't give it so much. I suppose the only thing that's kind of out there in the ether still is pricing. How much does the Gabe Cube cost? Which would be a big thing to see how successful this is, or how fucked Xbox might be. But from my perspective, Luke, people tried to, Chris, not that Chris pushes PC gaming on me, but people are always trying to encourage me. He's like, yo, you should be a PC gamer. I'm like, no, it building the PC doesn't work for me. That video of the Steam Machine, I was like, this is speaking to me on so many levels. Doesn't it? It looks fantastic, man. And to be like, and one of those things I'm looking at, Xbox or PlayStation, and the expenses going up and up and up, and Valve and Steam and Gabe Newell have always been about the gamer, and it seems to be like, we're not fucking you over. You recently came up with a fact that each employee could be paid a crazy amount of money in terms of...
So in the big tech companies around the world, one of the figures that's looked at a lot is basically you look at the revenue that the company generates, and you break that down per employee to get a revenue per employee figure. And like, I think Google is around like insane figures like 500,000, and Facebook's like 350,000 a year. Steam, because Steam is such a small company and because of the turnover they do, Steam's revenue per employee clocks in at around $3.5 million per employee.
Yeah, it's insane.
If you want to break down the metric, which is completely unmatched.
Yeah, like and watching that video, it's, you know, and it's such a pleasantly put together video announcing those kind of the 3 new hardware devices, and, you know, the controller comes with this dongle that charges things, and it's also going to help with kind of connectivity, whatever else, and it's shipped with the controller. Oh, thank God. Apple, you know, you want to have a listen to this. And then you talk about the Wi-Fi dongle for the headset and how well that's put together. And then you look at the Steam machine, and depending on its pricing, how easy that would be for me as a gamer to enter the PC infrastructure, but be able to play video games on my TV, but just using that, which is one of those things that is always, I'm not a person who sits at a desk with a monitor. I'm a couch dweller with my nice TV, and that's how I play video games. But this is Steam's answer to be like, hey, we've been PC, but now we're hopping into the console world. How fucked are Xbox going to be if their plan is to be, we're the hybrid? Yeah. And they're still all over the place. They are still all over the place with their, you know, oh, you're the hybrid, but on a $1,000 handheld? Like, where's the, and the premium console might be the true hybrid, but we're talking well over $1,000 to purchase this if you're talking about premium content. Yeah. If Steam's coming in, how much do you think the Steam machine sells for?
My idea is, my gut reaction is I think 1,200.
Crikey, okay.
I think 1,000. I think it probably starts from 1,000. €1,000, because hard to say specifically. It could be cheaper again. It could start from 800. Because the Steam Deck, when that first came out, did start quite cheap. I think maybe when it was released, it was around the 500 mark, and it's gone down. Like, you can get a Steam Deck these days, if you can get a refurbished Steam Deck for around like €250-300, which is incredible value for what it is. Oh my God. So I think, I think very optimistically from 800, a little more realistically 1,000, I think they could get away with charging 1,200 for it.
If it's 800, I will probably enter the PC infrastructure. Right, okay. I think 800 is the kind of the price point for me where that's what I would pay to get in. Because one of the drawbacks for me always was that I'm not a desktop person. It's not where I play my games, but always the pricing. Do you know what I mean? You talk about, you know, I think I was talking to Niall recently, and he got a graphics card. The graphics card was the cost of a PlayStation 5 Pro, and that's where I was like, you know, I was like, oh, that's not what I'm. But if it's 800 quid. Yeah, all inclusive. Here's your box, and, you know, I get to connect the Stadia controller to it. You know, live the dream I always wanted to, Luke. Yeah. Man, what a deal! And it's one of those things that I would never, because over the years I've always looked over at Xbox, kind of not necessarily longingly, but, you know, with the question of what if, you know, what if I went over there? What if I was part of that infrastructure? If Steam machine came out at 800 quid, I would never look at Xbox ever again. You know that meme of the guy walking with his girlfriend and looking behind him? Yeah. The girlfriend would be Xbox, always wanted me to be with them, and then the person that he's looking at would be the Steam machine. It'd be being like, oh fuck, that's what I want, like, you know. But how fucked would they be if their whole plan is to be the hybrid? How fucked are they if someone else already enters the market with just such a concise idea of what the hybrid looks like?
I think the answer is all the way fucked, right? Because so they've landed themselves in a position where they're just completely screwed, because before they were ever talking about a handheld console, Steam came out with the Steam Deck. Steam Deck blew the industry away. Like, it's hard to overstate how revolutionary the Steam Deck was,
and sold relatively well. Like, it wasn't bonkers amount of sellings, but like millions. Do you know what I mean?
Sells very well. Still sells very well to this day. And so it was just an out and out success, to the point where that's why Asus got into the handheld game and was like, oh, people are interested in premium handhelds. Yeah. Steam did it and was successful at it before most people thought about it. You can argue that Nintendo did it first and like proved the concept of like a premium console that can be a handheld, like a premium Game Boy basically. And Nintendo proved that. And then Steam brought it kind of to the masses, the PC players, all that kind of thing. So they smashed it. Really low price point for the specs you get, to the point where like the Asuses and all those kind of things don't really keep up with Steam Decks at certain specs. Like, they can outperform them when they're overclocked and whatever, but for the price you're paying, Steam just smashed it. They knocked it out of the park. Steam Deck is incredible. So that happens years ago, right? Now we go to the modern era, and Xbox have finally, like, as their pivot to try and, let's just say, save a sinking ship, they're like, one of the innovations we're doing is going to have a handheld console. It's going to be like Steam. It's going to be €400 more expensive, and it's going to. We're not going to be able to get that price down, and it's going to be really hard to buy.
It's ugly and it's hard to use.
It's ugly and it's hard to use, and it can also run Steam. But, like, you know, you have access to. You can pay for Games Pass, and you can have all the Games Pass games and all that kind of thing. So they do that, and it's kind of, so far it's a bit of a flop. We've yet to know how it's going to go. I think it's going to keep being a flop because of the price point. Mm-hmm. And so to kind of right the ship, they're like, well, you know what? We're the PC guys, so our next move is going to be a hybrid PC premium thing. And then Steam goes bet and drops their hybrid premium PC gaming rig thing.
Out early next year.
Is that what they're saying? Early next year?
Like, so spring 2026, but you're probably talking anywhere between January or March you get. So, like, my thing about it is, and this is where, like, we could see a nail in the coffin of not necessarily Xbox's future, but Xbox's planned future. We could see a nail in the coffin of that as early as the Game Awards. Because if you get an announcement between now and the end of December, and they're talking about, Luke, they're talking about Half-Life 3 as the
Chris messaged me this today. I can't believe Half-Life 3 rumors are back.
But in a big way, people think it'll be a launch title with the Steam machine.
That would go so hard.
But imagine you get Half-Life 3 as a launch title with the Steam machine. The Steam machine is priced at $800 and it releases in February, right? Like, we're, you know, because people have already had hands on with it and everything like that. That is entirely, like, Xbox can no longer say, here's our PC hybrid with the new Halo. It's like, no, PlayStation's got Halo, bro. You gave Halo to play. Like, we don't care about any of your IPs anymore.
There's nothing exclusive to your brand that you could provide us that would make us opt for that. Whereas I loved this thing. The founder of Rooster Teeth, Bernie Burns, had this quote from like 15 years ago where he said, he was like, Valve just permanently have the biggest trump card in their back pocket. Like, and this was when E3 was a thing. He was like, any E3, they could come, Gabe Newell could walk onto the stage, pick up the mic and say Half-Life 3, Portal 3, Team Fortress 3 and drop the mic and everyone would lose their mind.
Yeah, big time. And people have been talking about, and again, I think this is probably a bit much, but they're talking about the black box.
As a sequel to the orange box?
Yes, so that you, because the Steam machine's like it's a black box and it looks, they announced the black box, which is Half-Life 3, Portal 3, Team Fortress 3, launch titles with the Steam machine. You would, it'd be like Gabe Newell just like drowning an Xbox in a river. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, while he's announcing this, it's like, yeah, see you later, Chuck. They're fucked, man. And it's the saddest thing because I didn't agree with the console wars. I thought Xbox was making some stupid ideas with the acquisition. Back in the day, I thought that's too much money. It's too much money. Yeah. And I think what we've looked at with the studios that PlayStation have bought, they've nurtured them. Guerrilla came up with Horizon, amazing. Insomniac, the Spider-Man movies. And now, or Spider-Man video games, and now the Wolverine video game. PlayStation Studios is coming up with things like Astro Bot and Helldivers, these really fun, accessible games. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Hi-Fi Rush was a success? Dead. You know, like it's, and like one of the questions, we'll finish on this. This is where we'll conclude our episode. We usually do we'll do a big three of 2025. Yeah, sure. Where you'll represent the green corner of Xbox, I'll represent blue, PlayStation, and Craig will do red, Nintendo. How do you feel about repping the green corner for this year's episode of the Big Three?
Oh God, I really don't want to have to make any arguments for Microsoft. I really don't want to do it. If anything, I want to just completely jump ship and go Team Steam. This is a great way for me to summarize where I'm thinking for at this current position that Microsoft is in. Is I had the thought the other day. I was like, next generation, do I just buy a PlayStation? Like, because one, even if I wanted to buy an Xbox, I'm not going to be able to afford one. So do I just go PlayStation? And it wasn't until Steam announced all their stuff where I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to buy. Well, I might not be able to afford it.
I looked at that stuff and I'm not a PC gamer, but that stuff looks so... Now, the controller I think looks ugly as fuck.
It looks horrible.
But the rest of it, I was like, my God, is this where I get into PC? And in terms of, as you said, I miss out on all the fun. Like you and Chris talk about indie games, all these fun multiplayer games that I really feel that as a console player you miss out on because I'm not part of that Steam infrastructure.
Do you know one of the things that you miss out on, I think, the biggest thing that you miss out on? Steam sales. You've never experienced...
I've never experienced Steam sales.
Oh my God.
When I say I've never experienced Steam sales, I have about 5 games in my Steam library.
Okay.
Stardew Valley.
Nice.
3 Kingdoms strategy game. I remember what it's called. I have Age of Empires 2.
Nice.
And I've got maybe one or two others. Problem is, can't play them on my Mac.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Work. So I got them when I had a HP, whatever, laptop. But now they don't work on my Mac. So I haven't touched these things. Now, Stardew Valley I have on everything. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. But these are the games that I have. But I remember going on to Steam to try and what will I buy? And I looked at prices of things, being like, "Holy Jesus, this is great!" But if that was me, the only problem is we did a news episode where there's like billions and billions of dollars worth of games in people's libraries that they have not played. I think the Steam sales are almost like a danger. It's like, oh, I'll buy this thing, throw it in with the rest of them,
It is.
But I've never. No, you're right. I've never gone and experienced it. Like, let's buy a cheap multiplayer game for.
It's magical. It's so alluring. Like I was talking to John today about I was like. I was explaining to him like the ways that I'm saving money at the moment and how I'm very good these days at like not impulse buying anything, even like really cheap indie games.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like talking through my Steam library and like listed like 7 games that I own and haven't played more than an hour in, and they're indie games, and I'm really excited to do it. And so I just play through all them. So a big part of the reason I bought a Steam Deck in the first place was it was a bit spenny, but at the time I had over 200 games in my Steam library. 200 games that I could just play as soon as I got it. And that will be true, that plus more. Like I have loads of PlayStation games in my Steam library. I've God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn.
And that's the other thing as well, is that like, and this is where we'll finish off on our Xbox thing, right? But if you're deciding I'm going to buy, let's say Steam Machine is,
I love this.
Unexcitedly for me, let's say the Steam Machine is on sale for $1,000, right? Mm-hmm. Probably too much for me, but it goes on sale for $1,000 with, your Steam library. In that, you get all of your PlayStation games that have gone to PC, the Final Fantasies, the Horizons, whatever else, that aren't released on Xbox, that are only released on PC. I know some of the Final Fantasies are coming to Xbox, supposedly, whatever. But you get the Steam Machine with all the games, because that's where Xbox has all their games as well. Halo and everything like that is playable on Steam, right?
You can get the Master Chief Collection on Steam.
Yeah. So you buy the Steam Machine, and the only thing you're missing out on, I suppose, are Nintendo IP games or timed exclusives with PlayStation, which will eventually at some point come to Steam.
Yep.
That's your option. $1,000 Steam box. Hello, 1,500 Xbox Series Bluetooth wannabe F6, whatever the fuck they're going to call this thing, right? $1,600.
Yeah.
Same thing. I go on that. No access to PlayStation games. And all of it's really expensive, and Games Pass, my go-to shop is...
You're paying minimum, because they'll probably up the price between now and then. You're paying minimum £30 a month to access a library of games. If you pay the second tier down, you can't access a bunch of games until a year later.
Yeah.
I'll push the hypothetical a little further. Steam Machine comes out, Xbox comes out, they retail at the exact same price. They both retail at $1,000. Which do you choose?
Steam Machine.
Right. It's a no-brainer.
Steam Machine, because I think the library that opens up to me for playing games is huge. And because I think, like, we're going to talk about, I'm interested to see what you or I would do to fix things in Xbox. Or, I've got like one or two ideas running in my head, and I won't discuss them here. It's a post-show thing. Check out our Patreon. But I look at it and I'm like, if these things retail at the same price even, and it's going to, like, the Steam Machine's going to be cheaper than whatever the fuck the Xbox is. We know that by the way they've been talking. Our premium next generation console, more expensive than anything you've ever seen before. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to touch that because I can't trust you not to close down studios, fire people from their jobs, increase prices left, right, and center, and then for your Microsoft high lords, overlords to say we want more money. We want more money, so cut corners everywhere. Because
when I look on my Xbox library on my console right now, there are a lot of games I own because before I had Game Pass, I bought games, and every now and then something will go on sale, not even close to what a Steam sale would be, but there'll be a bit off it and I'll buy it. And this is an example of the Game Pass model working. I will play a thing on Game Pass. I like it so, like Outer Wilds, I played that on Game Pass. I loved it so much, I bought the full game. And with Game Pass, you get a discount if you own Game Pass. Great. Buy Outer Wilds, have that in my library. I have like basically a handful of games in my Xbox library. I have like maybe 10. I have like 10 or 20. That's a decent amount of games. But none of them are particularly special. None of them really catch my eye. None of them excite me overly. And so if you take Game Pass away from my console, which now has been taken away because I can't afford the new prices, I don't really have anything to play on my console, which is crazy. All those licenses are gone. My access to them is gone because I can't afford this ever-increasing subscription. And Xbox is on fire, Darren.
Xbox is on fire, yeah. And we're all just watching it burn.
All watching it burn.
Luke, thank you so much for hopping on this show. I'm interested to see what you think we can do to save Xbox.
Yeah, looking forward to the show.
But yeah, thank you so much. And listeners, listen, if you have any comments or if you want to show over Xbox, you know where to let us know. thegiftofgamingpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, as always and forever, keep enjoying the gift that is gaming. Peace out.